Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Off My Bridge! My name is Guy and we're talking on how to play Ferengi within your game. Now, everybody knows the story of the Ferengi. They were introduced in the Next Generation as supposedly the big villains that the crew of the USS Enterprise would be facing off against. But certain decisions in terms of how they were portrayed and the technology that they had available to them and then their general character kind of turned them more into farcical clowns than into actual enemies. Throughout the Next Generation, they continue to try to change the Ferengi to make them more vicious, more malicious, but I do think that there were some very good Ferengi episodes in the Next Generation, some lovely episodes. It was really only when DS9 brought in Quark that the Ferengi truly started to develop, and never really into the ultimate evil bad guys. They were as cunning as the Romulans, as conniving as the Cardassians, but just not as intimidating as anything else, really. And because Quark was always tolerated by Sisko and the rest, loosely, there was a sense that their danger was less. Voyager had Ferengi. It was the most amazing thing to see Ferengi in Voyager. You're like, what the heck are Ferengi doing in the Delta Quadrant? And then there was that wonderful callback to the Next Generation episode and the Barzan wormhole. And since then, Ferengi have been around. They're in Star Trek Academy, which is kind of exciting, although they look a lot more gothic in Star Trek Academy. I do wonder if we're going to see any Ferengi moving forward, although it is unlikely. So the Ferengi have been around. So how do you add Ferengi to your game without them being really comical? Well, why should it be? This is the silly month for some unknown reason. We're talking about lots of silly ideas and things. The Ferengi don't have to be silly. They can be earnest. They can be desperate. And above all, they're usually always driven by profit. So how do we work with them? Well, bearing in mind that most Ferengi are driven by profit, we can either entrench that expectation or we can subvert it. Either the Ferengi are really desperate for profit, they'll do anything for it, they'll blow up a moon, they'll sell weaponry, they will sell slaves, they will take and kill people just to get technology. They really can be very, very brutal, or we subvert it and we go the route of Nog and Rom, who really don't care about profit and value friendships, relationships, and doing something better with their lives. There are and have been Ferengi scientists. There must have been to develop the technologies that go on. What about their lives? What about the Ferengi gardeners? Or the tube grub growers? Or herders? Or cultivator. Whatever they do, they look after tube grubs and supply them, or beetle stuff manufacturers. We have seen hints. Well, maybe it's time to dive deeper. So think about Ferengi, but think about Ferengi not just as following the rules of acquisition and trying to gain profit at any means. If you do, well, push them deeper, darker, make them more terrifying if you want to. Or lean into the light side and have them try and rescue Mugi and accidentally kill a Dominion operative. There are so many things that you can do with the Ferengi. So now that you are either subverting or entrenching your traditional Ferengi, let's look at some basics. The rules of acquisition that the Ferengi use are very, very, very clear, very laid out, and you can access most of them online. And those rules of acquisition are all focused around how to make more profit. There are a multitude of ways in which the Ferengi will try to make that profit. They could be trying to sell something. They could be trying to exchange something. They could be acting as a fence in between two different things. They could also be trying to get something that is unique or something that is perhaps illegal. They could be trying to hire people to go and do that kind of stuff, or they could have been hired by people to go and do that kind of stuff. Any activity that will generate cash is really important for the Ferengi to follow up on. But as you are creating the adventure, you should always make sure that the Ferengi will cut their losses and run before they start making a loss, most of the time. So if it looks as if the Ferengi are not going to make their profit, they will leave. But they are tenacious, and they will return if they can find a different angle. So perhaps they get caught by the Federation smuggling diamonds across a border, and they're happy to turn on those who were selling the diamonds in the first place. or to perhaps sell the diamonds to the Federation for a much, much better price. They will always try and twist and turn and get to a point of making profit. And if you as the DM can't think of how exactly I'm going to get them to move this thing, think of them in terms of self-preservation. I will not lose profit by preserving myself. I will lose profit if I'm dead. I won't have any profit. So those are the benchmarks that I look at. How do I make profit? How do I make more profit? How do I salvage what profit I'm going to make? If I'm not going to make profit, I will cut and run. And if my life is in danger, I will cut and lose everything to preserve my life, because that is the most valuable commodity aside from gold press latinum is your life. So those are the basic approaches that I will take. The Ferengi will always assess every situation in that kind of way. That's a really good guide for when the PCs start to interfere with your Ferengi. What do you mean they stopped the weapons transfer? How did they even know about the weapons? You know what? It doesn't matter. So the weapons are on a Federation starship being taken to be destroyed? I know of a few Nausicaans who could perhaps be persuaded to go and get the weapons back for a minimal fee. And if they get caught, then I don't have to pay them, so I haven't lost anything. And if they don't get caught, they get my weapons back, and I've made my money back. There's no way I could lose. Always look for the angles to get as much profit as possible with as limited amount of loss as possible. And yes, the Ferengi are basically humans in 2026. Great. So what about Ferengi who don't want profit? There might be other motivators, and we've seen one of the biggest motivators for the Ferengi is Umax, that weird rubbing of the lobes thing that happens way too frequently in DS9. Love is a big motivator for the Ferengi, which is completely bizarre considering how they treat the females of their species up until 2374-75, round about there. So love can be a big motivator for Ferengi. So can recognition of status or position, and they can often spend vast amounts of latinum to try and get better status or positioning. So that could be a motivator too. Dissatisfaction with a contract or with the way in which something has been done can also motivate the Ferengi, as well as a sense of revenge. Sometimes that can blind them too. So the big emotions, love, justification, recognition, and revenge, are very good motivators for Ferengi outside of profit. Now, a really good Ferengi with the true lobes of business will have love, revenge, recognition, and profit. Yes. Some critical questions to ask of your Ferengi, whether you are playing a Ferengi or you are running the Ferengi within your game. Question number 1, where's the profit? How am I making money? If I'm not making money, why am I doing this? It's as easy as that. Question number 2, who will buy this for more or sell it for less? If I can buy it for less and sell it for more, that's even more profit. And my status and recognition is even greater, as I will be the best business leader in the entire galaxy. Third question, who can I trick into doing this for free? The Federation don't like charging for things. If I can get a small planet to declare a medical emergency, the Federation will deliver those medical supplies free of charge. I can then distribute them to the poor ailing individuals who all are holograms that won't charge me for the medicine, and then I can sell all the medicine to that planet over there that's just recently contracted a strange plague, which I managed to buy at a very good price from another planet. Well, there we go. Just those 3 questions should be enough to get you your Ferengi motivation to start a fictitious holographic planet for medical supplies to sell to a real planet infected by a plague that you bought secondhand from that strange exobiologist, mad scientist. What a wonderful adventure for the PCs to have to follow. we need to deliver medical supplies, but we're not detecting that there's anyone there. But they're there, but they're not there. What's going on? Why was this exobiologist attacked in his lab? Why is there a planet with a plague that we've just tried to cure on that planet, which doesn't exist? What's going on here? Meanwhile, there's a Ferengi making money. A few ways in which your Ferengi might be operating. Step number 1, selling plans, secrets, or information for a price. They could be information brokers. That's a really good and very lucrative career for a Ferengi to be in. Another similar is selling items, moons, weapons, starships, whether they were pre-owned, still currently owned, or otherwise, is immaterial, and all sales are final. Brokering deals, treaties, negotiations. The Ferengi can appear to be wanting to help. We'll deal with the Tulaberry negotiations with the Karma. We'll handle all of the contractual stuff, like the 5% handling fee, then there's a 7% fee of the fee, then there's an administration fee, and then there's a fee for the administrator who's doing the administration. Yeah, we'll handle all of that. So the Ferengi could appear to be very nice people, but actually they're just trying to make profit. Another way in which the Ferengi capitalize is on providing services such as, say, holodecks, pleasure spaces, gaming spaces. They can try to fill the void that we all try and fill with various vices. The Ferengi can peddle vices. Vices are very good. Yes. Choose any one of the women or men that you would like, and whilst they are giving you umaks, you are going to tell them your deepest, darkest secrets. So I can give that to my cousin, and he can sell it on the dark space to the Orions. Right? So that sort of thing. You can make money that way. Being the middleman is a traditional Ferengi position because you buying for less, selling for more is the usual approach that the middleman will take. But this could also take in the form of handling goods that are not entirely legal, moving them from one sector to another, from one quadrant to another. It could be facilitating the movement of actual people as well. It doesn't matter. The middleman position is a very profitable position to be in. And, well, there's no risk. You're not buying the product. You're not selling the product. You're shipping the product. You're handling the product and getting paid for doing so. Another way that Ferengi make money, and the last one in my list, is by owning stuff. We own this mine, we own this moon that is being mined, we own this territory that is being mined, but you can rent it, you can lease it, you can hire it, you can do whatever you like with it, but it's ours and you're paying us an hourly fee, which may change each hour, depending on the contract. And how we're feeling. Right? So owning stuff is another way for the Ferengi to make some serious money. Those are the basic ways in which Ferengi operate as far as I can see. And now we get to the part where it's speak like a Ferengi. Now, the Ferengi themselves have no specific accent or way in which they talk other than, and this is the advice that I've seen online and what I use in my own games, is you try to pitch your voice through your nose. So imagine that instead of speaking through your throat or your diaphragm and going more of a Klingon kind of way, you instead pitch it through the nose. So try and imagine the air is going up into your nose and kind of getting near your ears and your lobes. Yes. Then also pitch your voice upwards. So pitch your voice up, make it nice and squeaky or even soft if you're trying to impersonate a female to make profit. But it's always going through the nose. Keep it going through the nose. And remember, being a Ferengi is not just about making profit. It's about making sure that everybody knows that you have the biggest lobes and the biggest bank balance. Speaking like a Ferengi is not only about going nasal, but it is also about having a certain arrogance, a contempt for those around you, that you are the smartest, most cunning, financially aggressive individual in the room. This posturing is even more so than the Cardassian arrogance or the Romulan arrogance, because they might believe that they are superior to all others. The Ferengi Well, they just behave as if they're superior to all others. They're condescending. They don't care. Everything is an exchange. Everything is for sale. And so if the Ferengi needs to be loud and bombastic, they'll be loud and bombastic. But if they need to be quiet and calm because it's going to get them more profit, that's what they're going to do too. On one hand, they are very easy to play. They're just about making money. On the other hand, the subtleties as to how they go about doing that, I think, is really important. Then you look at Ferengi culture, the idea that women have to be naked and at home and cannot make profit, at least not until the reforms of Grand Nagus Zek and Rom. That is a very interesting space to explore. A rebel female Ferengi who wears clothes. Well, we saw that in Mugi. You've got access to a YouTube channel. Record yourself doing your very best Ferengi, and you never know, you might make some latinum. Or, at the very least, I'll share your videos and we'll all get to marvel at your performance capabilities or have a good laugh. Either way, you'll have made somebody else's life just a little bit better by spending a few moments recording your video of you as a Ferengi. There you are. Let's see if anybody does it. I dare you. I dare you. That's it for me and the Ferengi. This has been a free video for you to watch. No, it hasn't. Yes, it has. And all it's taken is some of your time. I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, hit that like button or the subscribe button if you're not already a subscriber, or the bell button. And if you have any thoughts on playing a Ferengi, drop them in the comments down below. But really, send in those videos. That could be really, really, really fun. So there we are. Until next week, where I will be reviewing an adventure and campaign idea submitted by one of you, and it all starts on a runabout. So I'll be looking at that and super excited for that, and also making some announcements as to what you can do to get your adventures reviewed on the channel next week. So until then, long life and happy gaming.